Hello everyone and welcome back to WARCRY. It's been so long I kind of forgot how to record and I really hope this is still gonna work. I am terribly sorry for everyone who hasn't read my announcement. I've had a move and yeah, that has really stopped me from recording because internet wasn't working for a while and so. Anyways, we are back and we are back with a big change to our previous tier list 5.0. Thanks to a couple of comments on the maths version of my last one, where we delved into how I came up with the tier list basically, I was able to really improve upon it, and I'm much more happy with the result we've got now, and I think you guys will be too. Um, so let's just get started really. In the bottom tier, we have Nighthaunt, Fireslayers, Iron Golems, and Rotbringers. Nothing too surprising there. Um, Maybe worth mentioning that Nighthaunt are now better than Fireslayers, and there's less people overall in F tier. Then we have the E tier, which is Stormcast Eternal Warriors, Shadow Stalkers, Iron Jaws, Zinj Demons, Science of the Flame, Ossiarch Bone Reapers, Bone Splitters, and Slaanesh Mortals. Again, I don't think any surprising changes there. We got the Unmade, Cypher Lords, Caradron Overlords, Beasts of Chaos, Lumineth, and Stormcast Eternal Sacrosanct. Sacrosanct moved up slightly here. We're gonna talk about how this happened, how all these changes happened in a second. Yeah, let's just go through the list for now. We got C tier, which is already, keep in mind, S tier is reserved for our top spot, so we only got A to F, really only 6 tiers. Therefore, C tier is already in the upper levels. It's already getting quite good here. So we got Sylvaneth, Khorne Mortals, Nurgle Demons, Untamed Beasts, Gloomspite Gits, Spire Tyrants, Daughters of Cain, and Slaves to Darkness. So all of these are already pretty decent factions. Then we got in our B tier Idoneth, who actually moved down a spot from A tier last time. Same with Corvus Cabal. Then we got Flesh Eater Court, Cities of Sigmar, Khorne Demons, Ogre Tribes, Legions of Nagash, and Zinj Mortals. In A tier, we only have Stormcast Vanguards Chamber now, Slaanesh Demons, Seraphon, and Splintered Fang, obviously with a Snake Spam build. And then in the top tier, we are still rocking Skaven. So what has changed and why has it changed? You'll notice that Stormcast Eternal Vanguard, that was one of the biggest points people mentioned, that they were not happy with them being down in C or D tier. I don't remember. I think it was even D tier. And me personally, I wasn't happy with that either. That was definitely a mistake. Something that clearly the system wasn't capable of portraying correctly. So I've made a couple of changes. If we look at the numbers here, you can see that not all of them go from 1 to 38 anymore. Actually, most of them don't. That's because instead of ranking them by performance so each faction was previously ranked by the average performance in any field. For example, in terms of damage, Skaven would have like slightly the highest average damage output, and then so they would get the highest score. They would get a 38 because there's 38 factions in general, and the faction with the lowest average damage output, I think that was Nurgle Mortals, would get a 1. So we'd have a massive difference between both of these factions. We've changed that now. We've changed it so the scoring is based on how far from the average they are now. So therefore, a faction with 19 points in damage would be the new average. So those are perfectly on average for damage output. And then everyone else is obviously above or below that. Skaven still reign supreme, of course, and they get the most points, but it's not as massive a difference between 24 points and 14 points as 38 points and 1 point was. And that's something that has changed the dynamics of the tier list for sure. And I think it's way better at representing how close this game actually is and showing that it's not impossible to win even with the lower tier factions. I will say that the bottom tier here is still gonna be struggling against other tiers, but I think even like with most of the factions from the lowest tier here, lower tier levels, the blue ones, you can still easily compete with the higher ones. So as we can see, like the final score for none of these is vastly different. Skaven are 8 points higher than Nurgle Mortals are, but other than that, like cut Skaven and Nurgle Mortals out, and we only have a 5-point difference between the top Vanguard Chamber and the bottom Fire Slayers there. So that I think is a lot more representative of how close things are in fact. Obviously there's if you're wondering how I could rank Idoneth against Siege Mortals, for example, because they're all 21 points, well, the actual scores are gonna be 21, sorry, yeah, 21.43 here or something, whatever, and as an example, 20.6 for Siege Mortals, whatever. So there's obviously uh, bigger numbers that I've only like made smaller to have a better visual impact. So as you can see now, when we last time looked at this, our highest score, which was given, was 58% above the average score, and our lowest one was, I think it was like 40% below the average. So that was a big spread. Now you can see that like the line of our scores is very close to our average line. So that's our average, and this is our scores, and they don't deviate that much. So yeah, I think that's the biggest change to the tier list, and as you can see, I think it's improved in terms of who's up there and who's down at the bottom now. I really don't see any faction that I personally wouldn't agree with. You could probably argue that Gloomspite Gitz might have a place in B or A tier, not in C tier, but that's what the maths say, so I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm very happy with how this turned out. I think it's a very fair representation for most factions, or basically all of them, really. And yeah, so I'm gonna carry this system over to making the new tier list that I'm using for allies. So that's what we are gonna be doing next. Well, I might not get around to it super quickly, but we have some other things on our agenda as well. So there's some more topics coming soon. Now that I'm back to producing videos, I will be doing that rather quickly. So see you guys next time.